Hello, this is Bullshed here, and today I'm going to teach you how to get Linux on your machine, how to replace Windows or whatever, not Mac OS. I'm not sure how to do it with Mac OS right now, but most of y'all are probably running Windows right now. And if you clicked on this, maybe you're wondering, how do I switch to Linux? And today I hope to solve this question for y'all. And I want to make it easy for anyone to understand how to install Linux, and how to especially get Linux onto a formattable drive like a USB stick or anything that can be used for storage and has enough on it, like USB stick or a disk. Like I have a disk over here actually. Yeah, like I have a disc right here. It's an old one because you can look on the back, it's scratched up to pieces. So that's not being used as an example, but we got this. So first thing you'll need is either a disc or a USB stick. One, one or the other. Make sure it has enough on it though. You don't want to end up in a situation where your disc or USB stick has little to none on it, like space wise, and unless you have a lot of time to deal with to whip out like at least 500 floppy disks and put Linux on all of them, then which I don't know anyone in the world that can do that. Well, I'd say either make sure to I'd say find a USB stick that has at least like 3 gigabytes on. Though you can easily find USB sticks have like 32 gigabytes on them for a good price. And DVDs, if you got any lying around, most computers have DVD compatibility. They're usually around 4 to 5 gigabytes. So these are more than enough for most distros, but some of the bigger distros are going to want the entire CD, or probably going to take up the entire thing. But it's pretty rare for a distro not to fit on here. And while I was mentioning 500 floppy disks, I was talking about Arch Linux. And Arch Linux is minimalist, and I wouldn't recommend it to a new user unless they really want to go down go jumping into the deep end without any skills first, if you know what I mean. Not to say Arch Linux install is hard. No, it looked. Well, I'm saying that because it looks daunting and it can easily scare someone away from Linux. So to start off, first we'll hop onto Google or whatever. Preferably, I'm showing y'all this with Microsoft Edge on Windows because most of y'all are just going to be using this. Microsoft Edge is also very similar. It's the same, it's similar to Chrome, so there shouldn't be much of a difference at all. So let me show you it. So here we are in Google. So first thing you want to search up is a Linux distro. I would advise new users to try out Pop! OS or Linux Mint if they want, or even OpenSUSE, SUSE Leap. But everyone usually recommends Ubuntu, and I see nothing wrong with recommending Ubuntu. So I'm going to teach y'all how to get Ubuntu on the machine. But Pop! OS, if you all want to do that, it's also quite similar to good old. It's a derivative of Ubuntu, so yeah. So first you want to look for Ubuntu or Linux distro, but I'd recommend Ubuntu for now. So if you just want to go straight to the URL, it's ubuntu.com. Just remember it up there. But going back, it's the first option that appears. So here's the Ubuntu website. Now you want to go to this button right here, download. And now this is probably going to confuse a little bit people. Like you got 20.04 LTS and 21.04. The difference between these two is that the LTS version, if it has LTS by it's supported for like 3 to 5 years. It's supported for a lot longer than this. So you'll be able to stay on LTS for like from like year 2020, which was last year, to like middle of to like around the same year I turned 18, 2023. So I could have potentially have used Ubuntu from when I was 14 to when I'm 18. This one singular version, if you know what I mean. Or 21.04, it's more recent, support the normal versions, or support for 9 months. And nine, and you usually like you can go with either one. Like if you really, like if you want to be a bit more newer, like you can go with 21.04. Like it's a bit more newer software in it. Well, if you want to go for maximum stability and you don't want and you don't, if you're like especially in the enterprise area, I'd go with long-term support version or LTS. But for the purposes of this, we're going to do 20.04. Because a lot of people would recommend you to download the LTS. In fact, I'd say it's the most recommended one you see people recommending to. So I'd save that under downloads. So yeah, save it under downloads. But you'd normally find it under downloads, but for me, I'm just gonna drop it in desktop for easy access. So it's gonna take a little bit. So I'll pause this to when it's done. So I'm back, and now Ubuntu 20.04 has been downloaded. So go to where you've downloaded the file. For me, I download to the desktop. So now you want to do So now what you want to do is you want to put this on a USB or CD or whatever. Preferably USB, but if you have a DVD, but if you don't have one, if you have a DVD instead, that does not have a movie on it or a game, then slide it into your computer if you can. If not, you could always wait and go to your local store. They should have USBs fairly cheap that you could easily put on this right here that have enough space for any kind of Linux distro. But overall, I'd recommend a USB. Okay, but now, what you want to search is you want to go back to Google or whatever search engine you use. You'd more likely be using Google. So let's look up Rufus. Melina Etcher is also a good idea, but I'm going to be doing Rufus because everyone uses Rufus and it's recommended. It's easy to use actually. And it's also not even that big of a file anyways. You just literally download it. So when you click on this, by the way, the link is rufus.ie. Accidentally opened up their Git link. So here's basically the GUI that would pop up. So you want to click this link down here. It's 1.1 megabytes, so it should be fairly easy to download no matter what. So right there, just download. So let's click open file. Oh, sorry peeps, editing screwed up. The recorder screwed up a little bit. Looks like the user account control thing that Windows has basically screwed up OBS a little bit. So I'll be making a little cut, but so let me do that entire scene again. So I say you put your USB in there. So as soon as I put my USB in there, get this. It was already doing the thing, but I'm gonna do it again. Well, I'll just go through the things again for y'all, and I'll just basically say no in the very last one, but y'all say yes. So you get the device. Usually should be your D drive. Pretty sure it's down under this PC. Well, of course this is an ISO file, yeah. Anything can be in the DVD drive. Get back in there, please. And here's Ubuntu, right here. I got on there. So you select it. So you go in here, go into where you download it, and you select Ubuntu. And now, whenever you basically do that, now it should look like this, and then just click Start. You do write an ISO image, and should give you a little thing again, like in a sec. And it'll say all data on this device, on device Ubuntu 20.04. Yep, blah 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 will be destroyed. Continue with this operation. Click OK to quit. Click Cancel. And you should click OK. Unless you got some important stuff on it, then just throw it out of the way. Like, find different USB, or even if you don't have any other USB, pop out the DVD drive. But since I already have it ready, I'm going to click Cancel. If it gives you any prompts, just continue on with getting the drive dealt with. If it gives you like a weird, if you want, just post whatever prompt it gave you in the comments, and I'll hopefully respond to it. Go ahead and explain it a little bit. So yeah, but it's already prepared. Now let's close out of it. So the next thing I want to explain to you is booting into it. So first thing is you want to restart your computer. And when you restart your computer, many computers will have like a few seconds at most to where you can press one of the F buttons on your keyboard, the function buttons, F1, F2, F12, etc., to get into your boot menu. On Dell computers, it's F12, and in that you just find look for your USB stick, which should be labeled as SanDisk if you use SanDisk, or whatever like wherever you're using, or your CD or something. So now you've figured how to boot into your USB stick. So here you enter this menu. First option, you want to pick the first option, which is Ubuntu. Wherever Linux distro is listed, but you're obviously following this one, which is Ubuntu. So of course I am using a virtual machine. I think this would be a great time to tell you what a virtual machine is. A virtual machine is basically a virtualized version of like a computer. It basically emulates a computer, it emulates another device, basically. It's literally a virtual machine, a virtual computer. You basically try out any type of operating system you want. So, virtual machines are quite cool, and they're actually really nice in many different ways. So, you can use virtual machines to try out different Linux distros if you want, but here I'm just using a virtual machine to demonstrate how to install a Linux distribution. Here's what would pop up in a smaller form. So this is basically anyways a little introduction to the desktop environment, sort of like you go up here to like turn off your computer or adjust volume and stuff, and if you're connected to Wi-Fi, this would be a menu to connect to Wi-Fi. Unless you're using Realtek Wi-Fi, then you got to install it on your own, or hooked up Ethernet if you can. Like for me, like on Linux anyways, I use the Ethernet port down. Use the Wi-Fi extender, which has an Ethernet extension onto it. So you got basically two ways you could try it, which if you choose to, it would open up normal desktop environment. You could screw around a little bit, but it wouldn't. But Ubuntu wouldn't be installed. Just be free to test around a little bit. So yeah, as soon as it gets in that, I'll pop this back open. Yeah, I'm wasting my own time a little. Yeah. So yeah, this is basically the Ubuntu like thing right here. Let's go show that for now. Some things that come with it. Pop it over the VM's menu. Pop it in settings so I can fix this resolution. So, you got, of course, some background options, but where I'm going for now, and some of y'all too, is basically here. Fixing the resolution. So I'm fixing mine. So now it's like this. Yeah, much better. So let's click on that. So now here's the actual install menu. So you can change your language, Espanol, Esperanto, Basque, Francais. I'm guessing this is Scottish Gaelic. Dutch. Like there's several different languages here. You know, you speak German, do that. I can understand a little of that of course because I'm learning German myself. Yeah, this basically, of course, telling you if you like that you may wish to read the release notes. It's optional, but for any normal person, you just be clicking continue with the language you selected. Here you can change your keyboards. Of course, if you're using a British keyboard, you go here and pick whatever's in here. But I'm using a American keyboard because I live in the United States. If you got a different keyboard layout, for example, you got some Cherokee layout or something, which I don't know why. I don't know anyone that has that, or you want to go with the international keyboard so you can type in more characters, which I'm going to go personally myself, but most y'all will stay on that. Actually, I'm going to use this one to make life easier for y'all. So now here's the type of menu. So updates and other software. What apps would you like to install to start with? So normal installation comes with a web browser, basically Firefox. Utilities, basically Thunderbird, LibreOffice, and a couple others. A couple of games. No, it's not coming with Call of Duty. It's just coming with some games, basic games. It of course comes with your part if you need to do any partition management, like fixing partitions, which I will explain in a second. Start up disk creator. Your Shotwell. Of course, this won't have all of them in it. If you have less space on your computer, You may go with the minimal installation, which just consists of a web browser and very basic utilities like a file manager. Nope. Manager. Normal installation, by the way, has everything that a minimal installation has, but with some more stuff. So I'm guessing minimal would have Firefox, files, and a couple more. You can, of course, download updates while installing Ubuntu. If you got third-party software for graphics and Wi-Fi hardware, there, for example, if you got, I'm guessing, an NVIDIA graphics card, I'd say go with that. So, I may have some things in here. Probably VirtualBox guest editions that I may need to install. But most of y'all will probably need to select this. So let's just click continue. So as that continues, and it's reverting back to normal res for some reason. I have no clue why. Yep. At least you can still see this. Erase disk and install Ubuntu. So let me explain something. This is probably the option, more likely the option that I'd recommend going with normally if you want to get rid of your Windows installation, of course, and what most people would be going with. There's also some advanced features. You can use LVM and encrypt the Ubuntu installation. You set password. Basically, this will encrypt your hard drive, but I'm going to go with none for normal. If you need a home partition, or if you wanted to dual boot, you would select this. And I think I may need to go through this at some other time. Dual booting is more advanced thing. If you want some stuff, you'll probably run through Windows. You could probably just run through a Windows virtual machine, or even Wine to an extent. So, and some of it is on Linux anyways too, other than your proprietary software like Microsoft Office and Adobe Photo and Adobe Creative Cloud. Those are not on there, but Microsoft Office, LibreOffice is a really good alternative to it. Not much of a difference at all. And then you have for stuff like for the Adobe Creative Cloud Suite. Don't need to be sounding like a 4-year-old here. The Adobe Creative Cloud Suite has alternatives to that. You have many alternatives to Photoshop. For example, GIMP, Krita. You also, for an alternative to something like Premiere Pro, that would probably be Kdenlive. Live. If you want a free option, but just only free as in, but with more features, but the only context free applies here is as in free of cost, not just free as in free and open source software. Then you can go DaVinci Resolve. So continuing on, /dev/SDA. So partitions are basically something where you basically divide the hard drive up, not physically, virtually into different slices. So like on Windows it's DE, F, etc. drive. On Linux they'd be SDA, SDA1, SDA2, SDA3 for partitions, or SDB if you got another entire hard drive too, like 2 of them. I'm not going to go over the way of doing this for this one. But if you got a like a Linux, like a Windows boot or somewhere, where I'd probably say try adding a swap partition for like 4 gigabytes at least. But I'm not sure how to do the Ubuntu one, but I do know the Arch Linux one, so I'm going to go back for now. And choose install now. Then erase disk install Ubuntu. AK anything on this hard drive right now, if you haven't backed, like any picture stuff that you haven't backed up onto a separate USB or onto the internet, you might as well, if you really want to back those up, just click go back and upload. Quickly go to your Windows boot, put them on a USB, or upload them to the internet. If you got those backed up already, just click continue. So now it's installing. Well, not yet. Now this is where you pick your time zone. Like some of y'all are going to be in like different time zones, of course. If you're in Britain, you can click around there. For example, I'm in the Central Time Zone in the United States of America, so I'm just going to choose Chicago, the city that's in the same time zone as me, not the city where I live. Kind of the same situation Distro2 kept getting himself in. People kept thinking he was in Chicago, but in reality, well, I think he's already mentioned the city he lives in multiple times, but no attempts to dox anyone here, fellas. Let's say that. Like I said, same here. I don't live in Chicago. It's just an American city that's in the same time zone as me. Used to pick Mexico City until I started realizing that I was having daylight savings time problems, if you know what I mean. So let's go back to choosing Chicago. And now it should start installing. And the Ubuntu install is usually one of the more longer ones. Yeah, whoops. So basically, who are you is basically what this is asking. You pick your name, just going to choose Builder Shed. Builder Shed M. Now I'm going to choose a computer name. If you want to screw with this in like a Linux, like in like more of a geeky type way, just by going in like Vim, like typing sudo vim etsy hostname, which is like ain't even doing that yourself. You want to go ahead and do that if you want. It's not that hard, but again, that's daunting. I'm not going to show it off here. Here, like, I'm going to get into command line later, but, like, in a different video. But overall, your computer name is basically another way of saying host name, but your computer name is just computer name. This is what your computer will show up as in your bash prompt if you're ever opening up terminal, or when you're looking at your, like, what device you're connected to the internet, this is what this computer will pop up as. Or if you're connected through Bluetooth or something. Yeah. So I'm going to do it. Ubuntu tutorial. So of course you can choose between these, log in automatically or automatically require my password to log in. I'd say go with this. Unless you just have one account and you're not intending to be family computer and you already got an encryption key password set up and stuff, then you can just go with logging them automatically. But I'm choosing to require my password to log in. So I'm going to basically set a super secure password. which we all know the password I'm choosing here is not super secure. It's actually how you get exposed. Get a secure password, people. Because I can literally just do this. It's literally my password's literally this right here for this machine. Same thing as username, just because why not? It's a virtual machine. I'm not using this on real hardware or a Google account or whatever. So let's click continue. So now it's going through the install. I'll be back when it's done installing. So, like I said, I'll be back when it's done installing. See you in a bit. Or actually, I meant in an hour or even tomorrow. See ya. So Ubuntu has finished installing, and you're prompted to reboot. You reboot if you don't click reboot anyways, and you don't click trying out Ubuntu. But then, it's going to automatically reboot for you. When it starts to reboot, it'll prompt you to take out the installation medium. You take it out, and then you press enter. Many other Linux systems will prompt you the same on that one. Then when you reboot, you log into your account, put in your password, and then you're met with this screen on Ubuntu. This is basically the setup app for GNOME. So, for example, when you first set up GNOME-based Linux distro, GNOME is the desktop environment. People at Canonical have obviously made a couple modifications, such as making the dock show up, which you can do on any other distro too. It's not like you can't do that. So, first thing here, you could connect your online accounts. You can connect your Google, Nextcloud, Microsoft, or Ubuntu single sign-on. Most of y'all would probably be connecting your Google account, though. So if you really want to go down the privacy side, not to say GNOME isn't completely not private. It respects your privacy, and it's open source too. So if you want to go look through the source code, you can, if you have the brain to. Yeah, if you know what I mean. But most would probably connect to their Google or Microsoft accounts. Now you want to click. Well, another thing to mention, most of your people that are more invested in software, like free and open source software, pro privacy and stuff, wouldn't be selecting either of these. They just click skip. I'm just clicking skip right now because I'm not putting my Google account in here. It's a VM anyways for me. If you want to, you can add your Google account. All I'm pretty sure it does, I think, is allow your Google Drive to be seen in the Files application. So here's this Canonical. Now when you skip past that, that'll be sent to another little thing. Canonical Live Patch keeps your computer secure by applying some updates that would normally require restarting. So you can set this up if you want. I might as well set it up. So let me just do that. And it wants me to have an Ubuntu One account. Click cancel because why not? Because I'm not going to go in that detail right now. Now you can help improve Ubuntu. Ubuntu can report information that helps developers improve it. Basically canonical. This includes things like the computer model, what software is installed, and the approximate location you use. So this, I don't see Canonical using anything spooky about this type of information, but most would probably opt out. So I'm gonna click no, don't send system info. It's not Microsoft or Google where they're gonna do that, but also do a lot more things like grab every single thing, like your IP address and things that you're probably wondering what the heck is it needing for your entire text messages or something, and selling it off to other companies. That's not canonical. Canonical is a bit more ethical on that side. They use your information in a good way. They use it to help improve the software by like basically just finding out what's caused, like which group of people are usually having problems, like that singular problem, like a bug. Which most developers will say they do that, but a good amount of them just aren't. Like that's not the end of it, if you know what I mean. For most developers, they go a bit beyond. So let's click next. You can enable location services and so it is basically allowing applications to determine your graphical location, and an indication is shown when location services are in use. So basically, if you're using some sort of map application or something, I guess. Let's click next. We're not going to find that in. Now it says ready to go. You can use software right here, which I believe is a fork of the GNOME software, to install applications like these. So I'm going to click done. Of course, it's going to prompt you with updating. I'd probably go ahead and update this because Firefox is right now quite a bit old, as you can see. A little bit behind once it shows up. Yeah, you can obviously tell this is like versions behind because it does not have the new design. As well as other things that are looking to be updated would be the Ubuntu base, basically the Ubuntu itself. So I'm going to click install now. So this will install them now. If you want to do them later, just remind me later. So yeah. Why of course go beg for password. So now you got Linux installed on your computer, or more precisely Ubuntu. You've replaced the proprietary operating system, which would here be Windows, with Linux, and you're basically happy now that you got installed. Hopefully. And you have, and you're looking about to what's next? Well, this is where I end the video, but I'm going to tell y'all that the next video after this would probably be around package management and how you can install applications and packages on Linux. So y'all can install your favorite applications. Though, like I said, Microsoft Office and Adobe Creative Cloud are not on here, but you can always use LibreOffice, which is a really good alternative to Microsoft Office, as well as alternatives to many of Adobe's Creative Cloud products, such as GIMP, which is an alternative to Photoshop that I'd recommend. You can go with that. So this Builder Shed here. Hope to see y'all next time. See ya. If y'all like this type of content, make sure to drop a like. If you wanted to see more of this content, make sure to subscribe. If you don't like this content, or specifically this video, drop a dislike. And it'd be heavily appreciated if you were to also drop a comment explaining why you disliked the video and some issues, also known as constructive feedback. I'll see y'all next time. See ya.